diplomacy has completely ended. The time for negotiation is over. As of this very moment, the regime in Tehran has officially collapsed under the weight of its own darkness. This is not a drill. This is the final hour. Donald Trump made it crystal clear. He looked the world in the eye and said, "We are done with warnings. I am choosing the ultimate option. We will strike so hard that their regime will be nothing but a memory." Tonight, those words are no longer a threat. They are a terrifying reality unfolding in real time. Ali Khamenei is not in his bunker. He is trembling in the cold cabin of a secret Russian cargo plane, leaving behind a shattered empire. And deep inside the Pentagon, a digital clock has just started ticking. The command for total elimination has been issued. T-minus 4 hours until Tehran vanishes from the map. To understand why Iran is standing on the edge of the abyss, we must rewind to the night Ali Khamenei made the mistake that cost him his empire. In a desperate attempt to blind the revolution, he ordered the power cut to the capital and major provinces. He called it a discipline blackout, hoping that total darkness would force people into submission. He was wrong. Instead of silence, he ignited a firestorm. Millions of people did not just stand there. They lit torches, bonfires, and burning barricades, turning Punak Square into a raging ocean of flame. The night sky glowed orange with the raw heat of anger, a psychological victory that shattered Khamenei's aura of invincibility. Inside the command bunker, panic has replaced strategy. Intercepted communiques reveal that Khamenei ordered the immediate removal of top Revolutionary Guard generals, suspecting them of treason. This internal purge effectively paralyzed the regime's defense. Meanwhile, the opposition is displaying remarkable military discipline. Leaked footage confirms that regular army units are not opposing the people, they are actively handing over police stations in an organized transfer of power. President Pezeshkian has fled after admitting that resistance against the West was futile. While the regime crumbles under the weight of paranoia and Trump's ultimatum, the people have united into an unstoppable force. The call was coming from inside the house. The Mach 13 shield had failed. The president had defected. And the people, armed with the knowledge that the regime was powerless, turned their anger into a revolution that no bunker could withstand. But the fire on the streets is only a symptom of the true terror. The real reason the generals are freezing is not the mob outside their gates, but the invisible noose tightening around their necks from above. High over the Zagros Mountains, inside the cockpit of a Russian-made Su-35 flanker, the regime's last line of defense is crumbling. The pilot is screaming into his radio, but all he hears is static. A screaming wall of white noise generated by US Navy EA-18G Growlers. His radar screen, which should show the enemy, is terrifyingly empty. He knows they are out there, but he cannot see them. This is the brutal reality of the Mach 13 myth. Tehran believed their hypersonic Fatah missiles were the ultimate shield, but a shield is useless if the arm holding it is paralyzed. The Fatah launch codes are locked, the data links severed by US Space Force assets. The pilot looks out his canopy, scanning the darkness, unaware that he is already flying inside the crosshairs of a ghost. The B-21 Raider is here. The 6th-generation stealth bomber is not just evading the Chinese HQ-9B air defense batteries below. It is absorbing their waves, gliding through the most heavily defended airspace on Earth like a phantom. The technological gap is not just a decade. It is a different dimension. Can China's radar systems and Russia's Su-35 fighters truly save Iran if the United States launches an attack against an authoritarian government under an Islamic cover? Or is everything promoted as the Eastern technological shield nothing more than a myth powerless in the face of modern, multi-domain warfare led by the United States? Leave your opinion in the comments below. Comment US #1 if you believe no radar system or Su-35 can stop the United States. Comment CN number 1 if you believe China and Russia still hold cards strong enough to change the outcome. While the sky belongs to the ghosts, the Persian Gulf has gone silent, preparing the second phase of the checkmate. Deep beneath the black water, the missile tubes of the Ohio-class submarines have hissed open. Inside, the Tomahawk Block V cruise missiles are waking up. These are not the dumb flying bombs of the past. They are loitering predators. They can circle a target for hours, waiting for a specific window, capable of striking a ventilation shaft with the accuracy of a needle thread. They are currently programmed to seal the exits of the command bunkers, turning the regime's own fortresses into inescapable prisons. High above them, the F-35 Lightning II fighters are not even engaging in dogfights. They are acting as the quarterbacks of the apocalypse, silently designating targets and feeding data to the entire fleet, coordinating a strike so complex that human reflexes cannot comprehend it. But the true sound of doom is heavy. In the bomb bays of the B-2 Spirit and the new Raiders hangs the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator. This is a 30,000-pound nightmare designed for one specific address: the deep underground facilities at Natanz and Fordow. The generals in Tehran thought 60 meters of reinforced concrete and granite would save them. They were wrong. The GBU-57 does not explode on impact. It burrows. It drills through rock and steel like a hot knife through butter before detonating, designed to crush the very geology protecting the regime. Outside the border, the KC-135 Stratotankers are flying lazy figure eights, keeping this invisible armada fueled and ready. This is not a battle. It is a physics equation that has already been solved. Operation Silent Erase has begun. The generals are staring at blank screens, terrified, because the checkmate happened hours ago. They just haven't felt the impact yet, while the generals are paralyzed by the invisible checkmate in the sky. A different kind of war is being fought in the VIP terminals of Mehrabad Airport. This is the war of greed. Intelligence intercepts confirm that the regime is no longer trying to save the country. They are trying to steal it. The radar screens are blank, but the flight logs for the unmarked Ilyushin Il-76 cargo planes are very active. These heavy lifters are not being loaded with ammunition or medical supplies to support the front lines. They are being weighed down by the physical liquidation of a nation. Witnesses on the tarmac report seeing convoys of armored trucks transferring wooden crates directly from the central bank vaults into the bellies of these Russian-made giants. We are talking about pallets of shrink-wrapped US dollars and bars of gold bullion. The elite know that their digital assets in Switzerland and Dubai have been frozen by the US Treasury's newly activated sanctions. The only currency that matters now is the kind you can touch. They are stripping the national reserves down to the concrete floor, leaving the Iranian people with a currency that is already worthless. But the most devastating blow to the regime is not the loss of money. It is the loss of loyalty. The reason the air defense grid failed so spectacularly was not just American jamming technology, it was a transaction. We are witnessing the grand bargain of the century. Sources close to the inner circle suggest that key commanders within the Revolutionary Guard realized weeks ago that the wind had changed. Instead of preparing for the ultimate sacrifice, they opened a back channel to Washington. The deal was simple: immunity for intelligence, the precise coordinates of the deep bunkers, the frequencies of the radar systems, and the patrol schedules of the mobile missile launchers were all sold in exchange for safe passage and the preservation of their stolen wealth. The very generals who swore to defend the revolution have effectively handed the keys of the city to the opposition. The silence of the anti-aircraft batteries is not a malfunction. It is a stand-down order, bought and paid for. Lower-level officers are frantically calling for orders, but the lines are silent because their commanders are already taxiing on the runway. Now, the final act of this tragedy is playing out on the tarmac. The Il-76 engines are screaming. preparing for a desperate flight to Moscow. Inside the cold cargo hold, stripped of all ceremony and religious pomp, sits the supreme leader. He is no longer the untouchable figurehead of a regional superpower. He is merely high-value cargo, squeezed in between crates of stolen gold and nervous family members wrapped in expensive furs. There is no red carpet, only the smell of jet fuel and the terrifying realization that his Russian allies are his last hope. The flight path is precarious. They must navigate a narrow corridor through the Caspian Sea, avoiding the Turkish airspace and the roaming US fighters. This is the great escape. The house is not just burning. The owners have locked the doors, looted the safe, and are fleeing out the back window, leaving the lights on to fool the people one last time. As the landing gear retracts, they leave behind a nation plunged into darkness, fueled only by the fires of revolution and the bitter taste of betrayal. As the landing gear of the Supreme Leader's plane retracts into the fuselage, the geopolitical seismographs in Moscow and Beijing are already going off. This event is not just a regime change in the Middle East. It is the first heavy domino in a chain reaction that will shatter the so-called axis of resistance. Vladimir Putin is watching his monitors in the Kremlin with cold dread. For 2 years, his military operations in Ukraine have been fed by a steady diet of Iranian Shahed 136 drones and ballistic missiles. Those supply lines have just been severed. The cargo ships crossing the Caspian Sea have stopped. The drone factories in Tatarstan, which relied on Iranian parts, will go silent. Without the swarm of cheap loitering munitions to distract Western air defense systems, Russian artillery positions are now naked. The equation in Eastern Europe has fundamentally shifted. The collapse of Tehran is the mathematical prelude to the failure of Moscow. The meat grinder has stopped turning because the gears have been stripped. Look eastward, and the shock is even more severe. Xi Jinping has just lost his discount gas station. For years, China kept its industrial engine running by purchasing 90% of Iran's oil exports at rock-bottom prices, effectively bypassing sanctions and fueling its military expansion on the cheap. That tap has been turned off. The strategic partnership is void. Beijing is now staring at an immediate energy crisis that could collapse its already fragile real estate market and manufacturing sector. The yuan cannot buy oil from a government that no longer exists. The string of pearls strategy, designed to secure Chinese dominance across the Indian Ocean, has been snapped at its most critical link. The dragon has not just lost an ally, it has lost its fuel. But for the average citizen in Paris, London, and New York, this victory is not abstract, it is tangible. It is money in the bank. For too long, the global economy has been held hostage by the threat of closure at the Strait of Hormuz. That fear premium is gone. With the Iranian regime out of the picture, the Houthi rebels in Yemen are stripped of their guidance and funding. They will fade into irrelevance. The Red Sea, the main artery of global trade, is open for business again. Maersk and Hapag-Lloyd container ships can sail without fear of rockets. This means the cost of shipping goods drops and the price of gas at the pump plummets. Inflation will cool down as the supply chains unclog. This is the return of order. The era of chaos agents holding the global economy hostage is over. Donald Trump's doctrine of peace through strength has not just liberated a country, it has stabilized the planet. The sun rising over a free Tehran signals the sunset of the authoritarian axis. The long night is finally over. The checkmate is absolute. But beyond the cold calculus of military strategy and the shifting tectonic plates of geopolitics, there is a profound human lesson here. We have learned today that no amount of reinforced concrete, no hypersonic missile, and no wall of fear can extinguish the human desire for liberty. The most powerful weapon in this conflict was not the B-21 Raider in the sky or the Tomahawk missile in the sea. It was the indomitable spirit of ordinary people who chose light over darkness. This victory does not belong to generals or politicians. It belongs to the mothers, the students, and the dreamers who refused to kneel. The solitary king has fallen, and his pieces have scattered to the winds. Imagine a future where the Middle East is redefined. Picture a region where innovation replaces ideology, where export statistics are about technology rather than terror, and where children hold diplomas instead of rifles. This is not just a dream. It is the new reality waiting to be built on the ruins of the old world. The firewall has crumbled, and the horizon is wide open. But history is moving faster than ever, and understanding these hidden moves is crucial. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and see the truth behind the headlines, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We will continue to bring you the deep dives that others miss.